Facebook. We are broadcasting on 2 cameras right now. I am Dr. Beau Blakely. I'm a pediatric and family wellness chiropractor at the Wellness Path in Grange, and this is another episode of our local business spotlight. And this week we are lucky enough to be joined by Club Pilates. We have 3 lovely ladies behind me. They are right there. So we have Sheri, who's the owner, and Maura and Julie are 2 of their instructors. So we're going to chat a little bit about Pilates, a little bit about chiropractic. Sheri actually brings one of her kiddos here to the Wellness Path, so we may talk a little bit about that. And we will just go ahead and field any questions. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of get set up real quick. If any questions come about throughout the 20 or 30 minutes or so that we're on here, just throw them in the comments and we will either answer them at the end, or if we run out of time, somebody from either of the businesses will go ahead and get those answered for you all in the comments or direct message you. So we're just going to get started real quick here. Just give me 1 sec. All right. Thank you for holding with us while we got that all set up. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I think you can see me. We got 4 of us here, the most we've ever had on an episode, so pretty excited. So, like I said, Club Pilates in Grange, a couple of the instructors, and Sheri, the owner. We're going to go ahead and get started. The first question, like I said, I always kind of have a few questions for them just to get us talking and wherever the conversation goes. If you have any follow-up questions, please just throw them in the comments and we'll get those answered as well. So I guess I'm going to turn towards you guys here. The first question I have, and that I always start with, especially when with all the different business owners, is I'd like to just kind of open it up. And for Sheri, for you, why Club Pilates? When did it kind of start? And how did you kind of get into this venture?
Yeah, great question. Why Club Pilates? I was in corporate for, a long time. And kind of transitioning out of corporate, I really wanted to focus on health and wellness and fitness. And what I really love about Club Pilates is that we're bringing Pilates to everyone. That is what I loved about it, because Pilates, for the most part, wasn't really out there and a lot of people didn't know about it. Yeah. So what's great about Club Pilates is that we're bringing people into this form of exercise. It's been around for a very long time, about 100 years right now.
Wow, I did not know that.
So it's amazing to be bringing people into this and making them feel good about their bodies. I mean, my favorite part of my day is when someone walks up to me and tells us like how amazing they're feeling and how Pilates has changed their life. So Absolutely. It's such a great form of exercise that now we're able to bring to everyone. And it's such a strong brand with a strong mission. It truly is about bringing everyone into Pilates.
I love it. And had you had any experience with Pilates yourself before opening? Was it something, I know we're going to get into kind of the different levels of classes, but were you taking the beginning classes at the beginning? Were you super experienced? How does that kind of go?
I wasn't super experienced. I've done Pilates in the past. Okay. Before I actually opened, though, I went through teacher training through Club Pilates because I wanted to learn as much as possible about Pilates from that perspective. Yeah. So I went through teacher training to become certified. I'm still working on my certification because running a business takes a lot of time.
I can imagine. Yes.
But I wanted to know as much as I could about, and when I started, I started where everyone else starts, from the beginning and building my practice up just like anyone who walks through our doors.
Very cool. And for the 2 of you, whichever one wants to go first, kind of how long have you been practicing, whether you were, just practicing by yourself, and what made you want to become an instructor? How did that process go for the 2 of you?
Sure.
And before they start, I'm just going to go lock the door real quick so no one walks in. Go right ahead.
I guess I can start, right?
Yeah.
Go for it.
My name is Maura, and I started in the fitness field first. So I've been in the fitness field for, almost 30 years. And so I was certified athletic trainer and then master's in exercise physiology. Okay. And I went to go and get discovered Pilates on my own through the practice. And I absolutely fell in love with it. So that's why I jumped in and got certified in first Pilates mat and then through in Hinsdale and then developed through the equipment as well.
Got it. Very cool. I'll have some questions about that equipment when we get there. And how about you, Julie?
Same as Maura. I started out in fitness many years ago. And I worked for a club that's no longer. And I went through my certification. And started with Matt way back then. And then just did reformer, Cadillac Realtor, kind of built myself up. And then I kind of was floating around a little bit, and then Sheri and I have a mutual friend, and I was getting nosy, what's going on? And I, really had lost my Pilates practice as far as a teacher because it's so much fitness, spin, all this stuff. And I needed some balance myself, so I gave up where I was at, which is the best thing I ever did. So I'm excited, and there's so many great people in the Pilates world, and glad that I realized in my own body it's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to kind of set the stage before we dive a little bit deeper. Just kind of, I guess if I were to ask the question, kind of what is Pilates, right? You talked about it's starting to become more popular. It's been around for a long time, but it's not as known. And each of you kind of discovered it on yourself. So how, for those out there that may not even really know exactly what it is, I feel like we feel a lot of, like you said, there's yoga this and yoga that, and spin classes are really big. And Pilates has this interesting equipment that we'll talk about later. What is Pilates?
Great question, right? So as I mentioned, it's been around for about 100 years now. It was developed by Joseph Pilates. It was originally not called Pilates, but he really had a systematic and disciplined approach to exercises. So Pilates is really a low-impact form of exercise that focuses on strengthening the muscles, but also on postural alignment and building flexibility. Pilates really focuses on the core muscles because 60 to 70% of the body's muscular system is in your core. But it also focuses on other areas of the body as well. We utilize a lot of different pieces of equipment, which we'll talk about, which enables people to gain flexibility, to gain the postural alignment, gain lengthening, building muscle tone. Club Pilates is a modern approach on classical Pilates, and we offer group fitness classes, which makes it more affordable for people. We also offer 8 different class types, so anywhere from our signature reformer flow class to we offer cardio type classes, and we even offer a TRX class, which is our suspend class. And all these classes are based in Pilates methodology. And for people who are looking to get started, we offer, because Pilates can be intimidating, as you mentioned.
Certainly, yeah.
Right, when people walk in our doors, sometimes they just kind of look at everything and can be intimidated. So to remove that intimidation factor, we offer a free intro class, which is only 30 minutes in length. And that's really designed to bring people in, get them acquainted with the equipment and the exercises that we do in kind of a safe environment.
So for those of you listening, you may have heard the train go by. We are in Grange, both the Wellness Path where we're at and Club Pilates right on the train track. So it works well in location, but also, as you guys heard, some of the things that Sheri just said is we have some pretty similar values, right? They're focused on the core, they're focused on alignment, and so it makes a really easy connection. We actually have multiple clients that are definitely going back and forth that I know of, and I'm sure there's probably more that I don't know of as well. And so it's a really easy connection for us to make, and we always recommend movement. It's one of the biggest things that you have to move your body. It's one of the biggest things that we're always recommending. Sometimes a little bit later down, I know we have one who she was just waiting for the okay. She saw Club Pilates at the, we did a summer bash and she saw them there and she just kept waiting like, Doc, when are you going to let me get into Club Pilates? Like, I'm going to wait till you let me know. She had a lot of stuff going on, but we carried her on her back, and everything she's been doing is feeling great. And I don't know if I actually just thought about her when we were doing this today. I was like, I better ask her. I wonder if she's gone in there yet. So we'll give her the clearance if we haven't already. But one thing that you mentioned, Sheri, is the different level of classes. So I wanted to touch on that. I know that there is a beginner class. I know you guys offer a free beginner class like you talked about. And apparently there's even more levels than I expected.
Yes.
So what kind of give us a little rundown of kind of what that may look like in terms of from the beginners to the super experienced, or maybe to the people who are really experienced in other things, but then they haven't really tried Pilates. Give me a little rundown of that.
Yeah, sure. I'll start, but you guys fill in. We have 4 different levels of classes. So typically a lot of people when they walk in start at our level 1 class. Really just to understand the movement, understand neutral spine, we talk about a lot to really understand that. As they begin to progress through the levels, we start to challenge them in different ways. And challenging isn't always about, especially in Pilates, right, about being fast.
Sure.
It's about doing the movement correctly, because you don't necessarily want to muscle through it. You want to make sure you're engaging the right muscles. And the instructors, Julie and Moore, are amazing at cueing people so that they understand and make that mind-body connection as they're doing the exercises. So like in level 1.5, we start to challenge things. We start to do single leg work. We might start doing kneeling on the reformer. We progress up to a level 2, and at that level, we usually like to start getting instructor feedback to make sure that they're ready to progress onto those levels.
Sure.
Level 2 classes, we start standing on the reformer. We start introducing different pieces of equipment, like the exo chair, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then we go up to a 2.5 class, which is really our most challenging class. And at that level, we do require instructor approval, because we want to make sure that it's more for safety reasons, that, when you're teaching group classes, you want to ensure safety at the same time. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
Yeah. I have a follow-up question for each of you of kind of, one, are you teaching a specific level? Are you kind of all across the board? And then number 2 is, what's your favorite? Do you like working with the people that are fresh off the street? Do you like working with people that can almost just do it themselves? And just little cues here and there? So kind of either one of you can start, and I'd love an answer from both of you.
So what I would say pretty simply is, as far as the different levels, it's an experience. Each time you teach, it's different. You have beginner people that come in that have no clue, and then you have people that come into the same 1.0 class that maybe are advanced, are coming to reconnect to their bodies.
Okay.
Which is my favorite class to do, is 1.0, and everyone's like, why aren't you in? I'm like, because I need to take care of myself. So it's important to have the instructors in those classes as well, and even at a level 1.0, because they're like, well, what are you doing in here? It's not about that.
Right.
So I love it. And as far as what I love teaching, you teach a 1.0 or center and balance, which is my favorite. It's candlelight and stretching. And then I love to teach fit or suspend, which is TRX, because I have a fitness background.
Sure.
So I like that little drill sergeant.
Sure.
But then you go back to the reformer and you remind them why you came.
Okay.
So you're back and forth, and it makes them think, wow, I'm well-rounded. I don't have to leave, go for a run, go for a bike ride, go do something else.
Yeah.
I can do everything at one spot. Thank you.
And as far as the levels go, yes, instructors we pretty much teach all different levels, and you can do that in one day. You can take people for, you got 1.5, 2, 2.5. So we'll spread throughout the gamut as far as that is concerned, as far as teaching is concerned, which I enjoy as well, because it gives me, because I have different people coming to different classes, and so that diversity I love. But I have to say, my favorite is really challenging the person that is already pretty much in their practice. So I really do love it.
I can see it, right? I mean, it's kind of a little hand-holding at the beginning, and you get to kind of see them progress through. It's you get people walking in here with all sorts of different stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And you get to see them progress, and then eventually you're just making little fine little tweaks, which is exciting. I want to jump into, I think this is my biggest question. I would guess lots for the other. I've been in Club Pilates quite a few times. I am sad to say I have not tried it yet. I will make sure that I do that. I should have done that before we talked. I can give my experience, but that's okay. Maybe we'll come back on.
Dr. Vic has been there.
He has, yes. I know Dr. Vic and his wife Veronica, who's our office manager, have been there, and they loved it. So the equipment, it's obviously something different than pretty much anything else, other type of exercise, and there's certainly a ton out there. I know the reformer is kind of the big one. I've already heard you mention a few other things that I didn't even know there were. So dive into some of that equipment for me, whoever wants to take that one. The floor is open to kind of explain a little bit about why you use those, what benefits they have, and things like that.
Okay. So the first thing is obviously the reformer. Pretty much the basic form of equipment, because I think we can use, it's so diverse, we can do so much on it, and every level can. From there, and that's why it's so necessary to be in an intro class, because there's all these like nooks and crannies in a reformer, and you have to understand the springs a little bit as far as how it feels. So it is imperative that they go to an intro class to just get a feel for the reformer before they go into class. I truly believe in that. But the reformer is fascinating because it's spring work, and you put your either hands in at times hands in the spring handles or the straps, or your feet. So your feet can be up in the straps, and it's amazing how safe. It's amazing how safe it is and how phenomenal the joint moves in that.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so the reformer, as Maura was mentioning, it's a piece of equipment, right, that you lay down. So you're supine on the reformer with your feet typically on a bar, and it's spring loaded, right? So what that does is that it adds, not only it helps you do some movements, but it also adds resistance to it. So, right, it make things more accessible to someone who might not be able to do something, but then it also adds some strength and by adding the resistance. And then Joseph Pilates, right? He was he designed the reformer. Basically, he was working with patients in hospital way back when he was in England, and so when he was doing that, he designed this pulley system, right? So that people in hospital beds could move and get some form of exercise. So the original design of the reformer is kind of like this pulley system, which dates back to when he was working with patients. So that's pretty cool too, I think.
Got it. And then I heard something about a chair of some sort.
The exo chair.
The exo chair. So same thing, resistance, spring loaded. You're working against your own body weight. Sometimes we use weights. Sometimes we just, focus on core. That's loaded by springs too. You can work on the floor, off the floor, doing all sorts of things, even just on the exo chair. You can add springs to it. You can find planks with just the pedal pushing, pressing. So as you start to do 1.5, you start to play with different equipment, and people start to graduate, so to speak, where they feel more confident in their basics. And then they go into the chair and they're like, this is a whole new world. Like, people will be like, I've never heard of a chair before. It literally looks like a chair with a pedal, and you work off of the resistance of the springs.
It doesn't have a back to it though.
Yeah. And it's a little scary, if chairs have backs.
You can't lean back.
So you have to know your core, and you have to know what's happening. And the instructor's always, walking up and down and making sure you're fine. But I think they get excited to try something new. There's always something added to that. So the exo chair is another piece of equipment.
Got it. Very cool. So this is awesome. I'm learning a lot.
There's even more than that.
There's even more. Okay. Do we want to get into those? Or are those kind of the main two? And then as they come, they can maybe give some surprises.
I would say, so all of our classes are 50 minutes, right? So in each of our classes, in those 8 class types, right, you always utilize 2 to 3 other pieces of equipment than the reformer. Every class starts on the reformer, then moves. And it could move to the mat, right? So there's a mat. We have a springboard, which is basically, think of a piece of wood on a wall with springs that can be moved and attached. So basically, same spring resistance and exercises that you can do laying down supine, you can also do standing up. So it challenges your body in different ways. We have Bosu balls, we have
TRX,
the magic circle, we have the TRX.
Gliders, stretchy bands.
So you're always doing something different.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things that one of the themes that I've been able to draw out is that there's a ton of different options, there's a ton of different classes, which kind of brings me to my next question is, for all those people out there, we see this a lot with both exercise and nutrition, there is a million different ways you can go. And we like to give a little bit of guidance on that, but at the end of the day, we kind of give a little bit of, everyone likes something different. But for you guys, obviously you're all Pilates lovers. Why Pilates over whether it be the million other different ways of exercise that you can? Why do you guys love Pilates so much?
I really love Pilates because of the different contractions you get in the musculature. So you can go concentric, eccentric, which not many forms of exercise has that. So Pilates provides that for you. And then of course your isometric. So you can do all of that in one little, 30-minute class, if you will. I think in addition to that, age-wise, any age. I have 84-year-old clients and I have 15-year-old clients. So I love the span of age group you can work with. It is so safe because of the spring loaded. I'm so appreciative of that, and especially the lengthening while strengthening with the eccentric. And I find that it's more with that, it adds that flexibility aspect to it that maybe other exercise programs don't.
Okay.
And I agree to add on with Maura. I have clients that can't get on and off the floor. And so when they go onto the reformer, they're like, wow, I can jump. And they're doing jump boards, like a trampoline, and they're not getting hurt.
Yeah.
Or they can, do stuff they couldn't do standing even. And they just think they're rock stars when they get up. Some people are intimidated thinking, I can't go on the floor. And we give them options. So say we were teaching something on the floor, they can go to the bar and do the same exact exercise. So like Maura said, from 15 to 85, you can come to the same class and do the same workout, but what's best for your body.
Yeah, and I love it because there's always modifications that can be offered. So if someone walks in with injuries, they can still take Pilates because it can be really rehabilitative for people, especially people with bad knees. I mean, I've had bad knees from just prior things I used to do,
Sure.
but I can take Pilates and never feel discomfort in my knees. So that's what I love about it, is that it really is accessible to most people.
Love it. So one of my last questions here, I was kind of doing my research and kind of, pre-interview research, and I was, checking out Club Pilates and reading a little bit about it. And one of the big things that it talked about, which immediately draws my attention because of what we do here, is it talked a little bit about stress relief, and both physical, obviously, also kind of the mental component of it. And one thing that we're always telling everyone that walks in this door is that the reason why you're here is stress. Now, that builds up, right? We see all these little kids, and we'll get a little, 2-month-old in here, and mom or dad is like, how is this possible? How have they had this much stress in their life? And there's a lot of things that go into it of how mom is through pregnancy and all this stuff. But we're always talking about physical, chemical, and mental, emotional stressors. And so when I saw right there that Pilates was talking about 2 of those 3, which obviously chemical being more nutrition, that's more outside of the studio there. Unless you guys have like free food at your classes or something.
Sometimes. All healthy food, of course.
There you go, right? And so we always talk about how, every one of us is this body, and our nervous system expresses life. And we can take so much and be, totally symptom-free and be absolutely awesome until we can't. And then all of a sudden we get symptoms, and that's how we're seeing it. And unfortunately, we're seeing it younger and younger today, of these kids that are coming in with whatever it may be. And so I love that that was addressed on the website. So if you guys could talk a little bit about kind of how it brings, obviously I think people kind of understand the physical aspect of it,
Sure.
but the mental health and the mental stress aspect of it, how does kind of Club Pilates able to tie that in with the exercise and physical health portion of it?
One of the things that I'll say very small is people love the community and the group atmosphere of it. So if you're stressed or whatever you're doing, you come in and your friends are there, or you meet somebody new, or the instructor just lifts you up, you walk out and you feel different.
Yeah.
So, we can do one-on-ones, and that's, great too. But I think people love the group of 12 people. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? And then everyone's high-fiving each other, and you walk out taller, stronger.
Yeah. It's one of those things there's actually a ton of research out there that talks about that community interaction. And one of the events where we kind of first connected with Club Pilates was at the Summer Bash. That the reason why we threw it and we got some local businesses involved was because we actually, myself and Dr. Vic, were taking one of a neurology continuing education course, and through the International Chiropractic of Pediatrics that we are working to get certified in, and they talked about this, how it's like you have to get the community together because there's so much research out there that this face-to-face connection, and especially with the kids today, it's all these different devices and all this stuff, and so we're like, let's try to figure out how we can do that, and that's kind of how this relationship started, and it's been absolutely awesome. So continue on. Sorry for that. Mental health.
No, that was great.
I'd like to address the breathing aspect.
Okay, yeah.
So in Pilates, we are always stressing the breathing, whether it all depends on what part in the class you're at, inhale, exhale, but in addition to that, so you're breathing, and of course, the diaphragm comes down, ignites the hip flexors, and so that, of course, ignites the core as well. So it also brings you out of that fight and flight if you're really good breathing, and you go back into parasympathetic is where we want to be anyway. So you're in that zone where that's where we want to be, You think you have better peripheral vision, you're focused, and and you're quite honestly, you're easier to get along with.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
True.
so
You know,
I think that's just
You're talking. You may not even know it, but you're talking chiropractic right now. Like what just came out of your mouth, you're like a walking billboard for the Wellness Path and for Club Pilates. We talk about all the time. We talk about gas pedal versus brake pedal, right? Yeah. We're working with those nervous systems, and these kids walk in, and whether they're bouncing off the wall or they're having digestive issues or all these different things, and adults too who are in pain, they're in this go fight or flight mode, and we always are talking about, especially for kids, but for anyone really, that brake pedal is so important for just relaxing, for recharging the batteries, for repair and healing injuries, and we're lucky enough to have heart rate variability, which is one of the tests that we run on everyone in here that literally plots you on a graph of how much sympathetic tone you have versus how much parasympathetic tone. And so we're able to see that, and that's one of the biggest things that we go off of is if you're in gas pedal mode and you're burning through your reserves like crazy, we got to get to work here. And so chiropractic, what it is all about is it's all about stimulating that brake pedal. And so breathing is one of those things. Pilates ties into that so greatly. And so I love that aspect. I love Pilates for that reason. And so I love it when and that's why I already kind of knew this was probably going to come up. But Pilates is such an easy tie for us to talk about because there are so many of those shared values and just the way that we look at the body, whether it be alignment. Now all of a sudden we're talking nervous system. So awesome stuff. Yeah. Anything from you?
No, I mean, I would say I support what they say. I mean, you know, for me, and Pilates is the mind-body connection, you know, and it is a way, for me, I feel in myself when I'm not regularly taking classes, I feel my stress level come up, and when I can go and take a class and you leave that class just feeling like a different person.
Yeah. I love it. So one thing, let me just see real quick, make sure we don't have any questions, and also that we have enough time here. Okay, so we got enough time. So one thing I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, and I prefaced with made sure Sheri was okay sharing this before we got on, but we've kind of started talking about whether, you know, all the kids that are coming in here I've talked about. I mentioned a 2-month-old baby being in here. We started talking brake pedal, gas pedal. And a lot of people think chiropractic is back pain, neck pain, and headaches, which it is. We do great things with that. A lot of people walk in that way. But we are pediatric and family wellness focused. And so a lot of times we get a lot of questions, why the heck are kids coming in? Yeah. Why are they seeing a chiropractor? Is it safe? All this different stuff. And a lot of the common things, we see ADHD, we see a lot of anxiety, we see a lot of constipation, digestive issues, you name it. And Sheri actually brought one of her kiddos in here, so I wanted to just very quickly just touch a little bit on your experience here at the Wellness Path and what we've been able to do for your kiddo and kind of how that has changed Mr. Kellen, who is a super stud. So I love working with him.
Yeah, he loves coming here. Yeah, I mean, it's been you know, a great overall amazing experience, right? So I mean, I have a son who, you know, boys definitely have more energy, but he definitely has more energy. He tends to be bouncing off the walls at all the time. And I was really looking for cures that are more natural, right? To kind of bring him to and, you know, calm him down. And when I can't remember when we first met.
I think honestly, I think I was just going. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I was just going around.
Yeah,
it was the Grange Business Association, and just trying to find businesses to work with for things like this.
Yes.
And then we ended up talking.
And we started talking, and what you guys do was perfect for my son, because I mean, when I first brought him in, right, his gas pedal way on, his brake pedal barely on, and just your program was amazing because through the treatments that he's been receiving and the exercises that he does after, we've been able to move him into this really more balanced state. I mean, he was having digestive issues, and those are gone. It's very rare when I hear him saying how he's not feeling good or he's got that nervous stomach. Yeah. He had a lot of nervous stomach issues, and he's sleeping so much better. You know, and it's amazing the difference in him.
Yeah, I love it, and it's one of those things where, you know, it's a mom coming in and she had a lot of questions, right? And that's okay, because the public doesn't necessarily know exactly what could chiropractic do for kids. And so I always love when I get an opportunity to have mom share, because it's more powerful coming from mom and dad too, of course. But it's one of those things where I just always urge people, even if you're not in this area, if you're watching this and you are who knows where, right? Reach out to us. We're more than happy to find someone in your area. It's amazing what chiropractic can do for kiddos. And once, I guess actually this brings me to my last question is, how young can someone be when they kind of start working with Pilates? I know you mentioned 15. Is that just a kind of general age? How young can we go?
Our rules are 13.
Okay.
Just because you want to make sure that kids have that mind-body connection, because before you put them on these, the equipment there's a lot to it, right? So you want to make sure that they understand the movements, and when you cue them to say, put your feet in straps or engage your core muscles, that they're understanding what you're saying, so that they're getting the benefits from the exercises versus, again, just muscling through them or just doing them. Again, our one of our primary things is always about safety, right? We always want to set people up for success, and by doing that is making sure that everyone's always safe as well.
Got it. So I want to wrap up real quick here, but I know you had mentioned a free beginner class.
Yep.
How does someone get into that? When are they? How does that process work?
Yeah, so we offer a free 30-minute intro class. We offer them every Monday at 7:30 p.m., Thursday at 12:30, and Saturday at noon. Okay. And to book that, you can call us at 708-340-0080, or you can visit our website and book directly through there, which is just clubpilates.com/LaGrange.
Awesome. So any questions you may have, she gave you that information. I will also make sure to tag their Facebook page in the comments as well. So if you're interested, I'm sure you can probably get to the website and get the phone number off the Facebook page. For anyone that's watching, whether it be on their feed or someone who's never been exposed to us here at the Wellness Path before, easiest way is probably just go right through our Facebook page that we're broadcasting on here. Shoot us a message, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to facilitate whatever you and your family may need. So I want to always just thank you guys very much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
It was an absolute blast. I learned a lot. I feel educated. I love learning. It's cool. And I'm super excited to give Pilates a little bit of a chance here once I
we'll hold you to
get
that.
it. Yeah. The hardest thing is my breaks are midday, and I don't want to get all sweaty and then come back to work. But I do have some family members nearby that I might be able to sneak in and grab a shower in between.
Well, we start at 5:30 in the morning, so we do have early morning classes.
That's true, and the 7:30 is right after we leave here too, so maybe I can sneak into those.
Got some options.
There you go. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.